Welcome back to Let's Talk Security Testing, the podcast where we talk all things security testing. Today we're going to be covering an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about all things agentic application security. Whether you've heard about AI threat modeling, AI pen testing, AI design reviews, AI code analysis, AI pretty much any job an AppSec person does today. That fair?
Yeah. I think pretty much every industry is looking at agentizing.
Agentizing.
Core functions within the business, and AppSec's no different.
Yeah, agreed. But you'd be mistaken for thinking, hang on a minute, my budget doesn't stretch past SNCC, so how am I going to buy all these agentic tools? And are they replacing my team? Are they optimizing my team? What should we be taking seriously here? And how much of this is novel stuff for early adopters versus things we should be looking at adopting mainstream today? I think in the interests of AppSec, maybe let's just work left to right a little bit on this just to get a bit of a flavor for some of the technologies that we're actually talking about. So if we start really at the far left, one of the things that I've heard for years is I wish I could be in the conversation when changes are being designed, right? That comes up an awful lot. How do I get into that conversation? And the reality is, right, last time I checked, the statistics on AppSec to dev were like 100 to 1, and that's being generous. I mean by that is 100 developers for every one AppSec person. So you can't be in the room, right? Tom, you know what it's like to run a software engineering business. You can't be in the room every time if you've got many different dev teams working in different scrums and pods for various different projects. So this seems like a really good way of getting security in the room in some way when these things are being designed. No?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at the way that the industry has gone over the last few years, people have been advocating for the idea of a security champion, right?
Yeah.
Installing a member of the development team who is more focused and oriented towards security.
Mm-hmm.
But security is a big, complex, diverse industry with lots and lots of depth of knowledge required. Development is a big, diverse, complex industry with lots and lots of depth required.
Yeah.
And so trying to divest some of that responsibility onto the development team hasn't worked particularly well, because they've not got access to the resources that they need to and the information that they need to get access to.
And that's presuming that it's just a people thing, right? I know I led with people thing, but also, let's say you've got a skilled, experienced security person in the room when the changes are being designed. How much airtime, what does them being in the room actually do, right? Because what them being in the room should mean is that they trigger a security conversation. What's a security conversation? It's a conversation that can be done fairly quickly, but can take many, many, many minutes of what is effectively a 30-minute meeting or a 1-hour meeting to basically spitball on what could go wrong with this thing. There's a couple of questions you want to answer, more if you've got the time. So one, it's a people thing, but also it's if you add all those minutes of time for those humans to discuss into every product feature design meeting, what does that extrapolate out to over the course of it? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's less, you know what I mean? I think they're the two big arguments that would come from the engineering side of the equation.
Yeah, and it's tying in the information. So I say, obviously, that security is a big, complex, multidiscipline area that you can't be expected to be an expert in that, and also development. But fundamentally, to be able to add value to the conversation, you do kind of need to be an expert in both of those. You can't just put a security person in a room with a development person and expect them to be able to have a conversation and come out with some... I mean, you can, with enough time, hopefully get them to explain the core elements. But, if your developer is writing in a particular language that your security person doesn't speak, and vice versa, then you're not going to get the most effective output. But
Yeah.
obviously, with these agentic systems, you can train them on a very, very large corpus of data about development information and even specifically your technology stack, and also a large corpus of data about your security rules, requirements,
Yeah,
areas of
100%.
focus.
And you can't put too much emphasis on the development information because, you know, in a startup or a business that's you know, close knit enough to actually understand the system, then you can speak to a person or a couple of people that will be able to speak for the whole release, the whole system, and the whole equation. Most businesses, you speak to I'm just a front end guy for this particular part of the system, or I'm just the back end, and you lose. There is no person, there is no oracle of knowledge on a particular system.
Yeah,
so
well,
you know, like it becomes even more difficult to get to that like broad spectrum of knowledge about how this release might impact the wider system, which is what we as security people often want to have.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would expect in the design phase that we're talking about to have an architect that broadly does understand how things fit together. That doesn't necessarily, well, or how things they believe will end up being fit together. That doesn't mean that the developers that later down the line actually implement those things will fit them in exactly the same way, and that's where I think you get a lot of those losses. But yeah, I would expect there to be somebody and potentially some HLDs that actually do describe this in its entirety. But the problem that I know is that, you know, if you're making lots of big changes and you've got lots of big HLDs, trying to digest that information as a human is very hard.
Yep.
Well, any time at the moment I get a massive document that I'm expected to read through and understand, I will try and read through it. I'll probably skim it, but I will also throw it into a large language model that can summarize the key points, and I can unpick it from there.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think this is the thing, right? So I think right now, on that shift left piece, which let's be honest is something that we're just not able to do, right? I don't know many security people inside reasonably big businesses that turn around and say, I am in all the conversations I want to be in. I can get in all the rooms I need to get into. Most people are saying, I'm in the room when I'm brought in the room, and I'm brought in the room when developers think I'm needed in the room. Sometimes, right? And it's more of an aspiration. So this is something where you can get people in the room. So the use case is there, right? But what about the technology? I guess to your point about pretty much running most things through an AI at the moment, where you know you're going to look at it manually, but before I do, let's get a skim read, let's get a summarization. There's no reason why that doesn't apply in this use case, right? It might be a little bit of help, it might be a lot of help, but something's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only is something better than nothing, I find that two pieces of information, whether it's what you've arrived at yourself or what has come from meetings or whatever else, having that to work coincide with what's come through the agentic system, even better, right? You might be doing things pretty well, but to have that sort of co-pilot running alongside you and also looking at these things and guiding and saying, yeah, but did you think about this? Did you think about that? Have you considered whatever else? Is pretty valuable.
Yeah. So considering agentic technology, be it a platform or be it just having a play with AI, at that really sort of left-hand side design, creation, ideation part of the process is should look at, should investigate, should think about trialing inside the business. I guess let's keep this podcast to the right length. Let's kind of move to the middle of the frame. Thinking about release, where I go to with this is less about kind of like post-release and all that kind of vulnerability management stuff, and think more about security questionnaires. And particularly in big enterprises, we typically require the development function to fill out some kind of questionnaire, which includes questions around security. And then we typically need someone from security to be able to review that and try and determine the path to production for this particular release and whether that needs to go through some extra scrutiny or not. Talk to me about the application of AI here and whether this is, should developers still be filling out these questionnaires? There's all sorts of problems with them in terms of do they get filled out correctly, do they not, etc. Is there a use case here that we should be considering and looking at today?
Yeah, I mean, 100%, right? The idea that you can expect somebody at the end of a release to summarize exactly what they've done inside that release and capture the key information that a security team needs in order to review it, and then that the security team actually has the capacity to review it is, I think, more than just optimistic in most organizations and incredibly expensive in the few organizations that are able to do that effectively. But the reality is all of the telemetry is already there to be able to do this using AI, right? You've got, if you take an average enterprise organization, they probably do something in the region of 1,000 development tickets a month, 1 to 3,000. Each one of those development tickets will, on average, have a description, some comments, some conversation, maybe even some HLDs associated with it inside of that, as well as likely a branch on their code repository and a pull request associated with it, with maybe 24 commit messages, and I don't know, let's say 500 lines of code in some sort of a code diff. All of that information times by the 1,000 changes that they're making a month is more information than a human could ever possibly digest. But the little nuggets of information in there that are valuable to a person are likely to be lost if you just ask a dev to summarize that in a change submission form to send off to security. But you can easily feed that stuff into large language models and get them to pipe out, hey, here's what's changed, here's what matters, and here's the needle in the haystack that you're looking for in terms of area for a little bit of extra scrutiny.
100%. I was having a conversation with a security leader at a large bank earlier last week, and we were talking about this exact point around, the questionnaire that we asked the devs to fill out is some pretty rudimentary questions, right? Is this externally facing? Are we touching authentication? All the kind of standard stuff you'd want them to fill out, right? And this particular person has a team, and that team's job is to validate the output of these questionnaires and have a bit of a meeting with the person that's owning that release to basically say, does this feel risky or not risky? And if it's risky, what should we do about it broadly? Now, if the questionnaire has been filled out and those questions lead it to be risky, then they have to fill out an entire review and follow those internal processes, possibly send it for a pen test, whatever. But if it's not risky, if the questionnaires come back and all the answers have been filled out, a bit like when you get a medical questionnaire, a dietary requirement, and it's just like nose all the way down, that type of thing. Obviously, typically the fastest path to get through, as I know regularly going to restaurants with you, and the speed at which I can order versus the speed at which you can order is greatly different because of the answers you have to give to questions versus the answer I have to give to questions. You can understand how this might be manipulated. So part of their job is to sample 10% of these questionnaires that come back that effectively say no risk. And that sampling process consists of looking at PRs, looking at the metadata, looking at the tickets, and trying to build a picture themselves of the risk to see if they would have arrived at the same answers. I asked him straight up, how many times does that sort of sampling 10% of those come back with sort of inaccurate information in the questionnaire? And he said, all the time. All the time. I said, right, okay. So, fine. Let the developers fill out the questionnaire. Let's not change that. But we can get a second opinion against that questionnaire instantly by reviewing the PRs, by reviewing the tickets, and all that's completely automated. How useful would that be, right? Just to be able to say, have a second point of validation. And sure, maybe in 6 months we look at changing the process and removing the questionnaires and giving that time back to the developers. But today, look, it's worth running it because you're not having to use it as a single reference point. You're not trusting it. It's just another thing to provide some level of repeatability and understanding and stop having to go back over and sample stuff and, do all that things you need to be thorough.
And not just that, but also what it is more likely to do than a person is likely to do is provide some sort of an auditable trail that this has actually happened, because we can pretend that the reason why people do all of this security stuff is because they care about security. But the reality is, part of the reason, at least, why people do all of this stuff is so that they can demonstrate to auditors and customers and whomever else it might matter to that security is happening, and it's happening at the change level. They've got contracts to fill and requirements to meet. And the idea that we're documenting pretty effectively that this change review process has gone on is optimistic. Whereas if you just have this automated process running in the background where models are doing a lot of this stuff for you, they do, just by the nature of their existence, produce a trail that you can point to and say, look, here's the last 1,000 development tickets, and here's the risky, no risky label attached to each of them, and here's the rationale behind that, which is awesome data for that 100%. Kind of proof point.
100%. So big tick next to risk assessments. I was going to move on to AI pen testing, but we covered that in a whole separate podcast, so go take a look and listen to that if you want to hear us talk about AI pen testing and our opinions there. So I'm just going to take a final category, just a quick one, because I know it's a big chunk of AppSec jobs as well, is vulnerability management, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got the output, people talk hundreds of thousands. I'm seeing even more than that as the expectation as we go on. These are findings from across the AppSec landscape and cloud landscape. They could be coming from tools, your CSPM tools, but also from static analysis tools. And SCA and open source technology is a big one, right? Of how many vulnerabilities we can have that aren't necessarily exploitable, reachable. That's a big part of an AppSec person's job, to go through the criticals, if you can even get that far, work out which ones we should actually be addressing and which ones we should not. It's not difficult work for a single vulnerability to be able to go and try and replicate it and see how reachable and findable this thing actually is, but it's very difficult at a large scale. How useful is the technology today at assisting there, at doing a first pass over a bunch of vulnerabilities to say, actually, this is a better list to be working from rather than the one that you're currently working from?
So in my experience, having looked at this for a while, what the tools are pretty good at, like AI is good at doing very small, simple tasks over and over again, hundreds of thousands of times, without experiencing the burnout that a human would be experiencing. So reviewing them, making sure that they've been ranked individually in an appropriate way, making sure that they've been structured in a way with good recommendations that a developer can implement, being able to kind of review 100,000 vulnerabilities and quickly provide some feedback off of the back of them. It's brilliant at being able to actually take all 100,000 and condense those down into, here are the 10 quick wins for you. I think we're still have a bit of a way to go in terms of what AI can do to contribute towards that. I actually think we're getting quite far towards being able to do that without AI anyway. There's some really good vulnerability prioritization and management suites out there that will really condense down your vulnerability debt or backlog for you. And all the AI is doing is helping pre-sanitize a lot of that data. So I don't necessarily think that it's a problem that the AI is not very good at doing that, but it's certainly my experience at the moment.
Yeah, but I think long-term, traditional vulnerability management tools are looking at different signal points, right? They're not actually doing any investigation. What they're doing is looking at, has this thing been found more than once? What do we know about this vulnerability in terms of its, CVSS score, but also has it got a KEV score? Has it got an EPSS score? Can we take a broader picture from across those? Like a typical tool might know that this has never actually been exploited in the wild and therefore is not exploitable. But a human would take a completely different path. A human would take that and then go, okay, well, I'm just going to go and check if I can exploit it. I'm going to check if I can actually find it and what level of access I would need in order to be able to find it, in order to risk assess it properly. Agentic technology is following that path, not the path of the traditional tools.
Yeah.
So by virtue, it's definitely heading in the right direction to solve the problem, rather than I think where we were, which was this technology is never really going to solve the problem. It's going to help solve the problem, but it's never really going to solve the problem. We're still going to need to staff this, and we're still going to be dealing with hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities in 3 years' time. We're just going to be managing it slightly better. But I think this is a path to, we might still have the same size teams, but they might not have to grow with the number of vulnerabilities, right? Because some of the forecasts I'm seeing for how many CVEs we'll be dealing with per year over the next 12 months, it seems like it's going to get astronomical.
Yeah. I mean, but I think vulnerability management as a concept is, or vulnerability shepherding, even you could call it as a concept, is about those two separate things that are intrinsically linked. It is about being able to nurture each of those vulnerabilities individually, validate that it's been closed or that it's a false positive or that it's got a rich corpus of information around how to remediate and manage it. Like you would nurture an individual sheep in your flock and make sure it's had its vaccinations and so on and so forth. And then it would also be about taking that entire net amount, that entire field's worth of sheep and guiding it in the right direction so that it's protected from the proverbial wolves.
Yeah.
And I don't think AI complements the second particularly well at the moment. I think it does provide capabilities to help manage that individual vulnerability in a way that we can't do at scale at the moment.
100%. So now we've covered some of the types of technologies that exist in this space. I thought maybe we could have a little bit of fun. We're going to play a little game, Imposter, where if anyone's not familiar, we are going to basically try and establish who is the imposter. But in order to do this, two of us isn't really enough players, so we're going to invite our production team, marketing team, into the equation. So Cameron and Serena, why don't you come join us? Just going to shift this along a bit. Right, so we're going to go through a few terms, right? So got a bit of a list here. And we're going to see if we can find out who the imposter is within the team. Who knows their vulnerabilities from their threat models? All right, thank you very much. Cameron, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, okay. Expensive.
Continuous.
You have to press you for an answer.
Token.
Mr. Imposter. Agentic.
I'm gonna say developing.
Vague.
Artificial.
Oh, God. It's one of you two, for sure. It's got to be one of you two.
So did you say developing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
as in it's getting better.
Probable.
Hacking. I mean, if everyone's just being vague,
How many times are we going to go round?
until people are ready to vote.
I'm ready to vote.
I'm ready to
People are
vote.
I'm going to go with... Right, okay, everyone, 3, 2, 1 point.
Ben, I think it's you.
Well, it's 2 votes for me, 2 votes for Cameron.
How is it two? Wait. What?
Yeah, I'm voting
Oh,
Ben.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Ben's the imposter.
I think Ben's the imposter.
Right.
I thought Cameron was.
Imposter, reveal yourself.
It's you, isn't it?
No.
It's you.
It is you, isn't it? Hacking.
Right, I'm going to say what I think the word is, and then if I get it right, I win.
All right.
All right.
Is it AI pen testing?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes. Boom. I win. Right. Should we go around again?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do a different one. Application security.
2 words, but we'll move.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. It can be forgiven.
AI.
Whoa, straight in.
Agentic.
What? Straight out of AI.
I don't know
No,
about
that's
that.
sus. That is so
That is
sus.
sus. That is sus.
Tom looks like he's struggling.
SAS.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I see where you're going with that one. I'm going to say threat modeling.
I'm going to say Simon.
Orange.
Keep giving it away.
Serena's the imposter. I'm ready to vote.
Imposter, reveal yourself.
Hello.
Yeah.
What do you think the word was?
Exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so bad.
I
It
know.
was going well.
I just can't think of like something vague.
Yeah, no, in the last one you didn't either. Like,
Yeah.
You gave it away straight away.
The last one, you thought I was the imposter.
Hey? Yeah, I did think you were the imposter, but I thought that the word was given away. I thought
Not very
all
good
three
at
of
this
you-
game.
Ready? Right, should I kick us off?
Uh-huh.
Imagination.
Okay. Vulnerability.
Okay.
Villain.
Okay.
Pasta.
Pasta.
What?
Right. No, I'm not. I don't think I'm with you. Cab.
Discussion.
Oh, right. Ranking.
Oh God, I'm so here again. God, Tom. Although I need to hear Tom say another word. This has been a good game.
I don't think it's what you think it is.
I can't think what else has been said.
I'm gonna have to hear another word.
Okay, sure. I
Remember
mean,
he said pasta.
Yeah, I know. That's I know.
data flow.
Okay, I'm gonna go around one more time. I'm gonna say clay.
Say input.
Intelligent.
I'm ready to vote. I'm ready to vote. Everyone else ready to vote?
Yeah.
No, I want to hear Tom.
Oh God. I don't know. Stride.
Right. Yes. Imposter, reveal yourself.
I'm the imposter.
What?
Yeah.
What was the word?
I don't know. I thought you were all imposters. So I'm talking about pasta.
Where did pasta come
Yours
from?
was so bad.
What was it?
Yeah.
What's the word?
Yours were good. You said import.
Wet modelling was the word.
You said import. You said
Discussion.
Discussion.
Discussion was like.
No, that's exactly how threat modelling works.
Yeah, because you
Discussion.
said cab.
Oh, so you said
Yeah, I did think the
Yeah,
cab and
yeah.
clay were the clay. I
clay
didn't-
modelling. Modelling clay.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking
The-
clay.
yeah,
the AI technology.
Yeah, I didn't.
No.
I didn't have a clue what the word was.
Modelling. All mine were great.
Just to be clear, pasta is a methodology. For
I thought it was
threat
something
modelling.
technical. I didn't
right,
know.
Right. Okay. Fine.
I thought everyone was
What were
the
yours?
imposter.
Yours was so bad.
Those are like intelligent.
Yeah.
He said AI, and then you said no. That was the
No, I
next
didn't.
name.
Intelligent. So threat modelling, you need intelligence. It's like an intelligent
Fucking-
analysis
Oh
of.
my God.
Anyway, I caught you all out because I wasn't the imposter.
It's-
Camera
Yeah.
got us all. Right, my go. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with James Bond.
I'm gonna go with handy.
What?
Quite handy.
Okay, fine. Footy.
I'm gonna go with Buzz.
Okay, I'm with you.
Buzz Lightyear.
I'm gonna go with superhero.
No. Let's stay with it for a second, because I think I know what's just happened. I'm gonna go with. I'm hopeful everyone here knows what's going on, so I'm just gonna stay with it and go Simon.
Lord Logic floor.
Penny tester.
Tom, I'm not sure if you're in the loop on this one.
The cross-site scripter.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Superhero.
We did well there to not let
Yeah.
it in. The word was agentic.
Yeah, what did you say? James Bond.
Yeah.
I said handy.
Buzz, as in like it's a buzzword.
But then you said light.
I know.
I thought you were the traitor.
As soon as she said buzz and Tom was like that, I was like, no, he's basically trying to
Superhero.
Right, yeah, to be fair, because when he said James Bond and then you said Buzz Lightyear, I was just thinking, like...
I didn't mean to say that, it just slipped out at the end. I meant buzzword, but it's only that one
I didn't have a fucking hope in hell.
I didn't have a clue what you're on about. To be fair, it's a buzz.
Well,
Like,
buzz,
yeah.
I seem like buzz.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, well, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you joining us while we close out the
Made the
podcast.
debut.
Cool. See you later.
Bye now.
Get back behind
Bye now.
Get back behind the camera, Cameron.
Bye now.
Cameron. All right, okay. So I guess, let's just wrap this up. So, that was a bit of fun, but I hope... Oh, sorry, let me just bring this back. That was a bit of fun, but I guess it's kind of typical of where we are, right? There's some good technology here that, sure, you can buy from a vendor, but you can actually also get some value from these tools yourself. The underlying technology under all of this stuff is exactly the same, right? It might look shiny, it might look cool, and look, there'll be a bunch of enterprise features in there that will make the technology easy to adopt, I am sure. But at the same time, everyone's got access to Claude, everyone's got access to GPT. The playing field for technological innovation has never been more level, I would say. So look, whatever the use cases are, as we've discussed today, there's plenty of use cases, there's plenty of buzzwords, but I guess, look, it's about looking at your business, looking at the priority, where the biggest choke points are, where the biggest pains are, and start looking at adopting some technology to help fix some of these issues and basically, I guess, give relief back to the teams that have been trying to solve these problems with a sort of head smashing against a wall proverbialness for many, many years. That this can finally actually be something that takes away at least the first part of the job, which I think is the bit that takes the most time. I don't think we're short of people that want to do the hard yards and do the investigations and do the bit that really requires to test the bounds of our brains. It's more the amount of work it takes to get to that point that I think can frustrate the most people.
Yeah, I think I completely agree, and not just frustrate the most people, but leave them feeling the most overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of, for want of a better phrase, grunt work that we can automate in all of this and unburden people from and remove burnout at the same time as
100%.
enabling them to get on with their more exciting aspects of their job.
Yeah, agreed. Right, well, I hope that was interesting for everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that was enjoyable. Bye now.